Welcome everyone to part 2 of the first tutorial. In this one, I will be focusing more on complicated elements and the online part of the game. First off, we have electronic elements. Here we have instant conductor, or inst. I'm just going to be calling it inst for now on. It's just instant conductor. But if you want to add power to it through a wire, you have to use P-type silicon, and it adds it, but you can't use anything else. So if I try to add normal metal, it doesn't work. And if you want to take power from it, you have to use N-type silicon, this. And if it's not conducting to the metal. Next up, we have Wi-Fi. Now, you can use this to send signals wirelessly. Try to get a break of it there and break of it there. You can see they're connected when I use the debug menu, which is D. If you activate the debug menu, it has the parts amount and the X coordinates, and a lot of a lot of other detailed things. Now, it works a bit like instant conductor, where you have P-type silicon to send signals and N-type silicon to take signals. Now, but these are temperature coded. So, if I were to heat this one up to be 120, so it's in base 2 instead of base 1, since it's 100 degrees more, it doesn't send the signals until I heat this one to more than 100. And now they send signals. Now let's move to explosive materials. The first thing that needs explaining is probably fuse and fuse powder, which is just powder version of fuse. These aren't like most explosives that will just instantly explode with fire. So the only other ways to explode them is with a metallic electric spark, and they start emitting all their plasma heat goodness. Or with just a lot of heat, which I'm going to use with plasma since it's very hot. And then it starts plasminating, whatever you want to call this. Fusing. Now, next we have here is bomb and destructive bomb. Now, if I were to get a big block of titanium, bomb destroys anything around it, but it's repelled by pressure. The thing with destructive bomb is it does the same thing, but it leaves a lot of more heat. It doesn't make a sphere of destruction around it, and it's attracted to pressure. And it just goes through absolutely anything. I forgot to mention that. Next up here we have lightning, which that's just lightning, but the bigger you brush the bigger brush you have, the larger the lightning, and also the slower it sparks. And you can only have one lightning on the screen at the time, so you can't click multiple places while paused, which is a bit of a shame. Next we have thunder, which is just static lightning, I guess. And the thing about that is it doesn't make much heat, even though it's very hot. It doesn't make much heat, but it does spark things. But the main thing it does, if I were to get rid of all the spark, no one likes spark. But the main thing it does, if I were to go in pressure display, it makes a whole bunch of pressure. Whole bunch here. Now, next up here, we're moving on to gases. Now, not many things that need mentioning in gases besides boil and caustic gas. First thing with caustic gas is, if I make a sphere of iron here, something that's degradable, I guess. And put this in it, it just chews right through it. So it's basically the gas version of acid, and it's a bit slower. But if I were to get something like gold that is resistant to it, here we are, caustic gas, it doesn't corrode it. Next up here we have boil. It just makes pressure pretty much, but it also has some other reactions that I'm not even sure of yet. When pressure display, pressure slowly goes up. And then the last thing we have here is noble gas, which is pretty, so it explains itself with a description, but it's just a conductor, but it also makes a lot of heat and plasma and a lot of pressure for some reason, which is a bit annoying, the pressure. Now we're moving on to liquids. In liquids we have mercury, virus, soap, and gel, and paste, which I'd like to talk about. First off with mercury, we're going to make a tank for it. It's a liquid conductor that condenses under the cold and expands in heat. If I were to heat this up a lot, it starts expanding. If I cool it down, that contracted a lot. Next up we have virus, which is basically something that takes over everything. It turns whatever it touches into virus. It's very not flammable, but when you give it heat, it turns into a liquid, which can really mess things up. So if you have an outbreak of this, keep it as a solid as much as you can, and to cure it, just drop a little soap on there, and it all turns back into what it originally did. And if you wait too long to cure it, it just disappears, and it's gone forever. Now, that's repairing itself. Next up, we have soap here, which just cures the virus, and I don't know really how it works. Not investigated in this much, but you can make weird bubbles and glitches out of it. Next up, we have gel, which sticks to something as much as it can, and it's slow, I guess, but it also resists a heat transfer. So if I were to heat this up in the heat display, you would see it's not heating up much at all. And that does not mean it cannot transfer heat. It can transfer a little bit of heat. Clean this up. Next up we have paste, which is a colloid and hardens under pressure. Pretty explanatory, but it's also very strong under pressure. Oh, that's heat, not pressure. Whoops. That's why I was turning into a brick, not the paste. It's a very hard thing, and it basically is invincible to all pressure. It has a really high-ish melting point. Really high. Well, that's a really high melting point. Okay. And now we're moving on to powders. Don't actually think there's much here to say about. Nope. Solids, we have something that you might want to know. Vine and plant. Plant doesn't do anything, but vine kind of grows along wood and is kind of sporadic. Oh my. Didn't realize there would be going to be so much pressure in there. And it's very flammable, as you can see here. The other thing about plant is if you, and vine, since vine is just plant, but scraggly, I guess. If you feed it water, it will grow, and it's very useful in some circumstances, because it turns carbon dioxide into oxygen, like real plants do, which then can be used for burning things. We all love burning things. Other things in the solids section. Are there any other things? Glass. Glass is basically just glass. It's shatterable, but it's invincible to acid for some reason. And it refracts photons. But if you make it into different types of shapes, you can, well, refract them in different ways. This is a small... I did not make this correctly, but this general shape is meant to focus things. But I did not build it correctly, because I never build anything correctly. Anyways, we have, in the radioactive section, we have deuterium oxide. I did go over this a bit in the other one, but one cool trick you can do is if you were to press the tilde, you can type exclamation point set life deut, and then just any ridiculous number you want. What did I just do? That's not supposed to happen. But maybe a bit of a smaller number. Maybe that one is just too big. I have, like, super deuterium is what I call it. And just a little neutron can make a humongous explosion. As we see here. I'm gonna get rid of this. And antimatter. It's very useful for some bombs, because it literally just destroys things upon touch. What else do we have here? That's pretty much it, I guess. In the special section, Tron, I guess. Useful to know if you have one of these roaming around. It will avoid dying by crashing into something, but it'll also, like, reproduce, I guess you could say. Which then it starts causing a lot of lag. I don't think there's anything else here. Oh, Game of Life. Forgot about this. Game of Life, if you're not familiar with the GOL of Game of Life, there's tons of different things here that can be useful for making bombs or heaters of sorts, since most of these, like Mystery, will make infinite heat. But if they calm down, where they're not constantly moving, they don't make heat. So you can make coolers or heaters. For example, maze or ball, or which one was it? There's one that was super stable. Oh, stains. Here we go. After this stops growing and finally calms down, if it stops growing, it just gets to be a super cooler, pretty much. Here we have the tools. I already went over all these. Property, drawing thing, tool, whatever. This is like the console, but it's drawing, so if I were to get a life, it's at the too high number. You get deuterium. I can make only this half super deuterium, instead of all of it super deuterium. So only that half is going to be super deuterium, unless it, well, touches it. You can't really control that, unless you segregate them. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, completely forgot about the online aspects. This one, I'm just going to be doing a quick over of this. So, pressing this button will bring you to a online page, which you can see things other people have made. such as handsome Squidward. Yes. And a lot of art here. A lot of people make art. But there's also ships and stuff. So if you were to want one of these, you can either click on their name to see all the things they've made, or just click on this itself. The description is here. So it's a first generation of Dreadnought for the Earth space fleet. You can see the comments here. If you have an account and signed in, like I am, you can type whatever you want here. You can favorite it or report it or whatever. If you open it, it's the ship that they have made. They have watermarks and everything here. I think this is a control panel. Is this a control panel? No. But they have super cool things here. Usually people make. I just pressed K to enter my library of things, and I've made a missile. No, I have not. I forgot. I'm not using mods. But here's one of my super bombs that I've made. And I can just destroy it. Pretty cool. There's upvoting and downvoting, kind of like Reddit, I guess. But if you like this, you can like it, whatever. You can save it as your own customization. And yeah, here, search bar. No, yes, I guess. No safe sound. Okay. Stickman. You can search up this, and it's all Stickman stuff. And, yeah. Your own things. You can sort it by the date it was made. For example, this is probably not going to be the best of things here, because it's just the new things, not the best things. But if you want the most voted things, or the quote-unquote best, there's just, all the best ones are here. Ukraine situation right now. It's pretty popular. It's been on here for like 3 weeks. And, yeah, I'll show you how to... First, if you're in here and you want to get out back to your save, you can just press escape. But if you want to reset something that someone else has made, you can just press this. These are all the tags it has. And if you want to save it for yourself, let's just say, for now, test. I can say if it's published for all of you to have it. If when you start it up, it's paused, used for like showing off nukes. There's the rules. I'll let you pause the video to read all these if you don't have the game yourself yet. There's a lot of them, but it's pretty explanatory. You can save it, and then it takes a while to save. Alright, that's the code. Gotta go to my own saves. These are all my own stuff. If it's locked, it's not available to the public. And here's test, made by me. And I can mess around with it. So that was pretty much the whole tutorial. Hope you guys have a great day. See you later.